Hi, I'm David Reznick, and I'm the principal investigator on the Fiber Project. I'm the voice that you often hear behind the screen when you're looking at images of these streams. What I want to talk to you about today is ecosystems and how ecosystems work. An ecosystem is a term that refers to all of the living things that you find in an area, plus the environment in which they're found, the aspects of the environment that are essential to their existence, including things like light and water, and the elements such as nitrogen or phosphorus or iron or other things that are necessary to support life in a given environment. In any type of ecosystem, such as the one that you see around me, the base of the ecosystem are what we call the primary producers, and those are most familiarly to us plants. Plants are producers. They have photosynthesis, which means that they capture the energy in sunlight, and then they sequester elements from the surrounding environment, such as nitrogen and phosphorus, and they convert that into chemical energy, the energy of chemical bonds, and into organic macromolecules. Then we have consumers, or herbivores, that eat plants. So they take all the things that plants have produced or sequestered from the external environment. They consume those macromolecules, and then they rearrange them to become parts of their bodies. Then we have secondary consumers, or predators, that then will eat the primary consumers, and so on. And so that's how the ecosystem itself is put together. And so the word ecosystem is the animals, plus the environment, and plus the elements that are critical to sustaining life. In the case of a stream ecosystem, things are a little different from the terrestrial ecosystems. If you look at the stream down here, you don't see plants. There are no plants in the stream, but there is primary productivity. The primary productivity comes in the form mostly as microscopic life called diatoms. Diatoms are unicellular organisms that have the capacity for photosynthesis. And so they're doing in the stream the equivalent of what plants do in the external environment. Now, there are two sources of nutrient input in a stream ecosystem. One is the water itself. As water is running down through a given portion of stream, it's constantly carrying nutrients with it. There are elements that are suspended in the water. For example, nitrogen, which is critical because it's part of proteins and nucleic acids. Nitrogen is present in the form of ammonium ions or nitrate or nitrites. Then you have dissolved phosphorus. Plus, you can also think of this water as being like a dilute soup, because there are going to be organic particles that are floating down. And there are some animals that are actually able to net out those organic particles that are in the water and to consume them and to have that be their source of food. So that's the input of nutrients. The other source of an input of nutrients is the terrestrial environment. We have the constant infall of leaves falling on the surface of the water and sinking to the bottom of the stream. And you'll see in all of our pools that there'll be packs of leaves in the deeper, stiller portions of the stream. Plus, there's the input of other types of life. For example, insects will fall on the surface of the water and be consumed by things that live in the water. Or you may get things that fall and die in the water and then slowly decay. So what I'm doing right here is I'm casting little bits of bread onto the surface of the water. And you can imagine, rather than being bread, that you're looking at ants that are falling into the water. And as that happens, you're seeing fish coming out and consuming them. That's what would happen to an insect that falls on the surface of the water. Those fish that you see are the killifish, Rivulus hardi. And these animals actually are aces at finding insects that fall on the surface of the water. If they're an insect on the surface of the water struggling, then what it does is set up small vibrations. And these fish actually have vibration detectors on the surface of the head, and they can nail an animal that's lying on the surface of the water very quickly and efficiently. They're actually much better at catching something that's floating on the surface of the water than they are at seeking out these little bits of bread that I'm throwing into the water itself. But the main thing for you to think about as you're looking at this is that there's this constant fallout of nutrients from the terrestrial environment into the aquatic environment, and that in various ways it is sometimes consumed, and it becomes part of the stream ecosystem. Okay, so when you're in the stream then, to actually convert the resources that are constantly becoming available into part of the biotic community, that will happen at a couple of different levels. First of all, you have the primary production. You have the diatoms, the single-celled organisms that are living on the surface of the rocks. You can't actually necessarily see them as a green film, but we know that they're there because we can take scrapings from the surface and we can find the chlorophyll that's evidence of their presence. So that's primary productivity. It's the capturing of elements flowing downstream and energy from the sun and converting it into organic molecules that then become available to the stream ecosystem. The other thing that happens is that leaves decay. A leaf very often has a protective waxy coating, and it consists of cells that are surrounded by cellulose, which very few organisms can digest. But these leaves, if you look at them, are slowly breaking down. They're slowly decaying. And that is mostly attributable to the activity of bacteria and fungi, which are able to break down the protective surfaces of the leaves and digest them, and again, convert them into macromolecules in the same way that diatoms are able to convert elements in sunlight into macromolecules. If we picked up a rock or a leaf from the inside of the stream, as I'm doing right now, and rub your hand over the surface of the leaf, it actually has a slick feel to it. And the reason it feels that way is because it's coated with a layer of microbial life. It's what a stream ecologist would call epilithon. I call it biofilm. The point is that it's just a film of living things that are on the environmental surfaces. And this is the baseline of the stream ecosystem. It's the lowest level of productivity, or the making available of macromolecules and nutrients that can be consumed by other organisms. Next, you have the organisms that will scrape the biofilm and live off of the biofilm. And very often those are small insects and other invertebrates that are able to scrape environmental surfaces. But guppies do that as well. In another film segment in the series, I showed you foraging guppies that were constantly pecking along the bottom of the stream and ingesting whatever they swallowed. And what they're doing is often swallowing scrapings from the surface, or else they may be swallowing small particles of sediment. And those will not be digested. They'll pass through the gut of the guppies, but the things that are living on them, the bacteria and the fungi, will be digested by the guppies. And so in that way, the guppies are able to glean nutrients from the biofilm. Then you have secondary consumers. You have things that eat the small insects that are the primary consumers, or you have the things that eat the guppies, such as the rivulus, the killifish. The guppies are a secondary consumer. They eat many small invertebrates. And then you have the other things that might eat the guppies or the rivulus. For example, we have crabs living here. And so in that regard, you have the same kind of structure that you'd see in a terrestrial ecosystem, but you have a very different structure at the baseline in terms of the streaming of nutrients to the system or the input of nutrients from the outside world.